It produced only 200 kilos of cotton in its first year under new ownership. Last year, it sold 600,000 kilos, or about 1,000 bales, earning its first profit since Mr. Masika bought it. World prices for cotton are up, but he worried that he might not have enough cotton to process if he invested in new technology. We got into this vicious circle where we then were wondering, do I completely modernize this thing when I do not know whether the cotton is coming? About a year ago, as the cotton supply in Kenya started increasing, he started modernizing half the machinery. Makueni is one of only 4 modern ginneries in the country. Kenya's cotton industry used to be strong, but almost 20 years ago, a government agency collapsed. That agency had provided growers with a guaranteed price for cotton. Without that support, prices fell, and so did production. Today, Kenya is part of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. AGOA is an American law, first signed in 2000. It provides duty-free and quota-free treatment for certain clothing and other products from Africa. Kenya says its clothing exports tripled from 2001 to 2006. But Kenya's cotton and textile industry is concerned about meeting future requirements of the law. AGOA countries have been operating under what is called a third country fabric provision. This lets them use yarns and fabrics made in any country, not just AGOA countries. But starting next September, those countries must be able to find the raw materials for their products regionally. Kenya's cotton industry wants the United States Congress to extend the third country fabric provision. Micah Poan is chief executive of the Cotton Development Board. He says, if we get an extension period of 2 or 3 years by AGOA, I confidently say that we will be able to produce enough cotton to meet local demand to qualify for the AGOA market. African countries face not only a limited cotton supply and poor machinery, they also face problems with making cotton into fabric to produce clothing. Under AGOA, fabric is considered a raw resource that has to come from African countries instead of places like China. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
Agriculture Report. Florida in the southeastern United States is called the Sunshine State. It grows more oranges than any place except Brazil. But in January, extremely cold air damaged some Florida oranges and strawberries and killed fish at tropical fish farms. The unusually long period of cold weather has shown how even warm climates can sometimes freeze over. But protecting plants and trees in the garden may not be too difficult if you follow a few suggestions. Sudden cold can be the biggest threat, especially after a warm period. Plants have not had a chance to harden their defenses. Those that are actively growing or flowering are at high risk. Try to choose plants that live best with cold weather and plant them in areas that face west and south. Being near other growth may also provide warmth. Most frost damage takes place at night. ice crystals form on the leaf surface. They pull moisture from the leaves and keep plant tissues from getting water. Cold weather is most likely to damage or kill plants that do not have enough moisture. So keep the garden watered. Moist soil absorbs more heat than loose, dry soil covered with mulch or vegetation. University of Arizona Extension experts say covering plants and small trees with cloth or paper can help prevent frost damage. A 100-watt light bulb designed for outdoor use can also provide warmth. Some people place Christmas lights on young trees for warmth. The bulbs should hang below the leaves to let the heat rise into the tree. Cold is especially dangerous to citrus trees. Agricultural specialists at the University of California suggest putting paper or cloth around the trunk and central branches of young citrus trees. In Florida, as temperatures fell to record lows, citrus growers sprayed water on their trees to help prevent freeze damage. Jim Botcher is a master gardener with the University of Florida Extension. He explains that as the water freezes, it produces heat, and the ice forms a protective blanket around the tree. If you spray a tree, keep the water away from nearby power lines. Heavy ice can form and break them. You can also wrap a tree in palm tree frond leaves, corn stalks, or fiberglass. Adding plastic film works well in rain and snow. But experts say plastic alone does not help much. And that's the VOA Special English Agriculture Report. More gardening and agricultural advice is at voaspecialenglish.com.
English Agriculture Report. White rice is the world's most popular form of rice, but it goes through a milling process that removes many nutrients. As a result, people who eat a poor diet based on white rice may not get enough vitamin A. Each year, an estimated 250,000 to 500,000 children go blind from vitamin A deficiency. The World Health Organization says half of them die within a year of losing their sight. Vitamin A deficiency is a problem, especially in Africa and Southeast Asia. So scientists thought of an answer. They combined white rice with plant compounds that the body can change into vitamin A. The rice contains beta-carotene and other carotenoids. These plant colorings give the rice a golden color. The scientists also thought of a plan to give away this golden rice for free to poor farmers. But the rice is genetically engineered. They say it cannot be made using traditional methods to breed plants. The scientists worked for 10 years until 1990 to develop the technology to add genes to rice. Then it took 9 more years to get the genes they wanted into the seed. The first field tests took place in 2004 at Louisiana State University in the United States. Golden rice is currently being tested in the Philippines. It is still not available for general use. Co-inventor Ingo Petrikas says rice with 2 added genes will be available in the year 2013. One gene comes from maize or corn, and the other from a soil bacterium. Mr. Petrikas is retired from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. He blames the delays on too many rules about genetically modified crops. Opponents say such crops may cause environmental damage by breeding with conventional plants. Opponents also question the safety of biotech foods. Mr. Petrikas says golden rice has never been shown to be unsafe for the environment or people. Many agriculture organizations support the project. But there are also critics, including researchers for the environmental group Greenpeace. Several months ago, they questioned whether golden rice could do much for vitamin A deficiency. They said releasing genetically modified rice in Asia could permanently change traditional rice varieties and wild ancestors of rice. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. For more news about rice research, go to voaspecialenglish.com.
Agriculture Report. Seth DeBolt is a plant scientist at the University of Kentucky in the United States. He and other scientists wanted to find a source of fuel that poor people in rural areas of developing countries could use to make electricity. The United Nations Development Program says 1.5 billion people have no electricity. 1 billion others have an undependable supply. Professor DeBolt went on a study trip to rural Indonesia. He saw that everywhere he went, there was very little waste in the use of agricultural products. Everything that farmers grew was used for something. Even the remains of fruit that people did not eat were fed to chickens. Little waste meant there was little that could be used for fuel. Growing a separate fuel crop would take land away from food crops. That was something Professor DeBolt did not want to do. He says the people at most risk of energy poverty are often the same people who have food insecurity issues as well. Any change in food availability would hurt that group the most. But he found 2 items that were in plentiful supply